Some machines were built to conquer the fields. Others were built with flaws so deep they couldn't survive their own power. Today, we're counting down the 12 most dangerous tractors ever to roll off an assembly line. From catastrophic transmission failures to rear ends that exploded under load. These weren't just mechanical problems. They were steel giants that tested the limits of engineering, broke their makers' reputations, and sometimes broke the farmers who trusted them. This is the story of ambition, failure, and the machines that were too dangerous to survive. Number 12, Ford 6000. When Ford introduced the 6000 in 1961, it looked like the future had arrived. Sleek lines, a heavy cast iron grille, a gorgeous red and cream paint scheme that turned heads at every dealership. Under the hood sat either a 223 cubic inch gasoline engine or a 242 cubic inch diesel power plant, both pushing around 66 horsepower to a brand new transmission system Ford called Select O Speed. It was a 10-speed power shift transmission, groundbreaking technology for the time, the kind of innovation that should have made Ford a hero in the farm equipment world. Instead, it made them a cautionary tale. The Select O Speed transmission was prone to catastrophic failure. Farmers would be halfway through plowing a field when the gears would grind, slip, and eventually shatter under the strain of normal work. The transmission simply couldn't handle the horsepower the tractor produced. Some say Ford rushed it into production too quickly, desperate to compete with John Deere's new generation tractors like the 3010 and 4010 that had just hit the market. The pressure to respond was immense, and it showed in the final product. Whatever the reason, the result was a disaster. Tractors broke down in fields across America. Dealers were flooded with angry customers. And Ford did something almost unheard of in the tractor industry. They recalled every single 6,000 they'd sold. Not just a repair, a complete recall. Ford brought the tractors back, rebuilt them from the ground up, re-engineered nearly every major system except the radiator cap, and released them again in 1963, wearing a new blue and white paint scheme. They even gave them a new name, the 6000 Commander, hoping to distance themselves from the failure-prone originals. But the damage was done. The Ford 6000 became a symbol of what happens when innovation moves faster than engineering can support it. It was a beautiful tractor with a fatal flaw, and farmers never forgot. Number 11. John Deere 2010. John Deere built its reputation on reliability. The green and yellow machines were supposed to be unshakable, but the 2010, introduced in 1960 as part of Deere's new generation line, proved that even legends can stumble. This was Deere's first attempt at a modern four-cylinder tractor, a bold move away from the two-cylinder engines that had defined the brand for decades. The 2010 came with either a four-cylinder gas or diesel engine producing around 46 horsepower, paired with an 8-speed transmission. On paper, it was progress. In reality, it was problematic. The biggest issue was the hydraulic system. The 2010's hydraulics were weak, unreliable, and prone to failure under heavy loads. Belly-mounted pumps on models with power steering were especially problematic. Parts were scarce even 30 years after production ended, and rebuilding them was nearly impossible. Farmers would experience hydraulic lift delays, implements dropping under load, and systems that simply gave up when asked to work hard. But the problems went deeper. Deere had experimented with a new engine design that used an inventive deck plate to hold the cylinder sleeves in place. The deck plate sat directly on top of the sleeves, using O-rings to create a seal. It was clever engineering, but it didn't hold up well over time. Water would leak into the oil, sleeves would crack, and farmers would find themselves facing expensive repairs. The 2010 also suffered from transmission issues, PTO problems that made it impossible to shift gears while the power takeoff was engaged, and steering troubles that made the tractor difficult to control. John Deere abandoned the deck plate design after this model, and no subsequent tractors in the new generation line used it. That tells you everything you need to know. The 2010 was a huge technological leap for its time. Live power, live hydraulics, ergonomic design. But it was also a tractor plagued by reliability issues that made it unsafe for the heavy work farmers demanded. Nostalgia surrounds these machines today, but anyone who's restored one knows the truth. Parts are expensive, hard to find, and the tractor's flaws run deep. It was a bold experiment that taught John Deere valuable lessons, but it cost farmers plenty along the way. Number 10. International Harvester 560. In July of 1958, International Harvester threw a massive party at their Hinsdale, Illinois testing farm. They invited over 12,000 dealers from 25 countries to witness the future. The 60 series tractors, the 460 and 560, were the stars of the show, the first six-cylinder tractors of their kind, promising more power and more capability than anything International had built before. The 560 was available with gasoline, LP gas, or diesel engines, all six cylinders, all producing around 66 horsepower. It was rated for 5 plows, came with either a 5-speed or 10-speed transmission with torque amplifier, and looked like a beast ready to conquer any field. The new square front styling was a dramatic departure from the Raymond Loewy designs of the letter series, giving the tractors a modern, aggressive appearance that matched their increased power. But there was a problem, a big one. The rear differential and final drive components hadn't been updated since 1939. International had slapped a powerful new engine onto old bones, and those bones couldn't take the stress. Under heavy loads, pulling 5 bottom plows through sticky, clay-heavy soil, the ball bearings in the bull gear assembly would deteriorate, fall out of their cages, and jam between the bull gear and the cast rear-end housing. When that happened, the housing would explode. It was catastrophic, dangerous. The failure would often happen without warning, sometimes leaving farmers stranded in the middle of fields, miles from help, with a tractor that was completely immobilized and potentially unsafe to tow. And while the failures weren't widespread, they were fairly regional, concentrated in areas with the toughest soil conditions. They were spectacular enough that word spread fast. By 1959, 2/3 of American households had telephones, and bad news traveled at the speed of a party line conversation. Feed stores buzzed with stories of tractors that had blown their rear ends apart mid-field. Dealers fielded angry calls, and International Harvester's reputation took a beating. The timing couldn't have been worse, as John Deere was preparing to launch their new generation tractors, and farmers who'd lost faith in International were already looking at green and yellow machines as alternatives. Management had been so focused on developing other product lines, refrigerators, freezers, trucks, that agricultural development budgets had been squeezed, and proper field testing of the 60 series never happened. Senior project engineering management had been weak during development, allowing corners to be cut that never should have been acceptable for a product launch of this magnitude. The failures had been foreshadowed during earlier testing of the Super M and 400 models, where higher bull pinion and inner axle bearing failure rates had been noted but not adequately addressed. In mid-1959, International issued a full recall of all 460s, 560s, and 660s, whether they'd failed or not. Dealers replaced the rear-end parts with redesigned components. New differentials with tapered roller bearings, new housings, new bull pinion gears with a 25-degree pressure angle instead of the old 20-degree design, and better lubrication systems. The recall work was intensive, with dealers authorized to charge International for 19 hours of labor per tractor, and the company worked around the clock to manufacture the improved components and get tractors back in service. International ate the cost, which was rumored to be around $19 million, over $200 million in today's money. In a stroke of incredible luck, International Harvester still posted their best sales year ever in 1959, with total U.S. sales hitting $1.7 billion. The 560, once the fixes were applied, became a solid, capable tractor. Many are still working today, but the recall remains one of the first major tractor recalls in history, a moment when a company's ambition outpaced its engineering and farmers paid the price. Number 9. Allis-Chalmers 190XT. Allis-Chalmers had a problem in the mid-1960s. They needed a tractor that could compete with John Deere's 4020, a machine that was dominating the market with synchronized transmissions and reliable power. Their answer was the 190XT, introduced in 1964 and built through 1971. It was a 6-cylinder diesel tractor, producing around 93 horsepower at the PTO, powered by a 301 cubic inch engine with a 3.875 by 4.25-inch bore and stroke. The engine was a completely new design for Allis-Chalmers, and for its displacement, it offered exceptional performance and efficiency compared to competitors. The XT stood for Extra Turbo. The turbocharged version could outperform the 103 horsepower D21 until Allis turbocharged the D21 in 1965. The 190XT had a 4-speed transmission with a power director that could split each gear, giving it 8 forward speeds and 2 reverse. The power director allowed smooth on-the-go shifting between the split gears, a feature that made the tractor versatile in varying field conditions. It was a capable machine when operated as designed. The original price was around $8,672, positioning it competitively against Deere and international offerings in the same horsepower class. But here's the problem. Farmers didn't always operate it as designed. Many owners turned up the injection pump, pushing the tractor from its stock 93 horsepower to 120 or more. The temptation was understandable. A simple adjustment to the fuel delivery could give farmers significantly more pulling power without the cost of buying a larger tractor. The 190XT was built on a platform designed for the smaller D19, and it simply wasn't engineered to handle that kind of power. When owners pushed the tractor beyond its limits, the rear end would fail. Early models had a light rear end design that couldn't take the stress. Transmissions that didn't tolerate grinding during gear shifts would wear out, leaving farmers with tractors that wouldn't stay in certain gears. The non-synchronized transmission meant that improper shifting technique could destroy gears quickly, something that wouldn't happen with Deere's more forgiving design. Operators who were used to the forgiving nature of synchronized transmissions would grind gears during shifts, creating wear that accumulated until gears simply refused to engage or stay engaged under load. The lack of a true live PTO also meant the tractor had to be stopped completely to shift gears when running implements, a limitation that frustrated farmers accustomed to more flexible systems. Allis-Chalmers eventually introduced an improved rear-end design and updated many tractors in the field, but the damage to the tractor's reputation was done. If you weren't an Allis fan, you heard the horror stories and stayed away. The 190XT was gradually improved, becoming the 190XT Series 3 and eventually the Model 200. When treated with respect and operated within its design limits, it was a reliable workhorse. But push it too hard and it would break. That's not a flaw in the machine. That's a mismatch between what farmers wanted and what the engineers built. Allis sold many of these tractors, and plenty are still working today. But the 190XT earned a reputation as a tractor that demanded restraint, and restraint isn't always what farmers had in mind. Number 8. Massey Ferguson 1100. Massey Ferguson's 1100, produced from 1965 to 1972, was a powerful machine on paper. It featured a 6-cylinder Perkins diesel engine, producing around 95 horsepower, more punch than the John Deere 4020, and better than many Allis-Chalmers models of the same era. The Perkins 6354 engine was renowned for its durability and fuel efficiency, earning a reputation as one of the best power plants in the industry. It came equipped with the multi-power transmission, a cable-shifted system that offered flexibility and ease of operation. The multi-power gave operators the ability to shift on the go between high and low ranges, providing 12 forward speeds and 4 reverse gears for maximum versatility. For farmers who had good dealer support nearby, the 1100 held its own in the field. It was comfortable to operate for long hours, with better ergonomics than the International 806 and more power than most competitors in its price range. But the 1100 had a dark side. The hydraulic system was problematic. Charge pumps driven by spline couplers, one at the flywheel, one at the transmission differential case, were prone to failure, especially on high-hour machines. When those couplers stripped their splines, the hydraulics would fail, leaving the steering weak, the 3-point hitch inoperable, and the tractor dangerous to operate. The problem was exacerbated by the fact that there was no way to diagnose which coupler had failed without disassembling major components, turning what should have been a straightforward repair into a major undertaking. Diagnosing the problem meant splitting the tractor, an expensive and time-consuming job that many owners couldn't afford. The transmission also had issues. Shift linkage could bind, cables could break, and the multi-power system, while innovative, required constant adjustment to stay reliable. The cable shift mechanism was particularly vulnerable to wear, and if the cable stretched or frayed, the transmission could slip out of gear unexpectedly, creating hazardous situations in the field. When it worked, the 1100 was comfortable, powerful, and capable. When it didn't, it was expensive to fix, and parts were hard to find. The Perkins engine was solid, but everything around it, the hydraulics, the transmission, the steering, seemed to demand more maintenance than farmers wanted to give. Hydraulic fluid leaks were common, often originating from worn seals in the complex system that powered the steering, brakes, and three-point hitch simultaneously. One owner described it bluntly: the 1100 tried to kill him, and he sold it the next day. Another said the transmission, steering, and brakes were not good and very difficult to fix. The brakes in particular had a troubling characteristic. They often wouldn't work when the engine was stopped, a dangerous flaw if you needed to park on a slope or control the tractor while coasting. This hydraulically assisted brake design meant that without engine power to run the hydraulic pump, operators had virtually no stopping ability, a terrifying realization when descending hills or approaching obstacles. The steering at lower engine RPMs became extremely heavy and unresponsive, requiring significant physical effort to turn the wheel and making precise maneuvering nearly impossible. For farmers in areas without strong dealer support, the 1100 became a liability. When local Massey Ferguson dealers closed, these tractors disappeared almost overnight. Parts that were already expensive became nearly impossible to source, and the specialized knowledge required to service the multi-power transmission and hydraulic system simply wasn't available at independent repair shops. The 1100 wasn't a total failure. Many worked reliably for years, but it was a tractor that demanded attention, expertise, and access to parts. When those things weren't available, the 1100 became dangerous. Number 7. International Harvester, 1468. International Harvester's 1468, produced from 1971 to 1974, was a tractor designed to make noise. Literally, it borrowed the DV550 V8 diesel engine from International's truck division, a 549 cubic inch beast that produced around 146 horsepower. With twin exhausts and the unmistakable roar of a V8 engine, it appealed to younger farmers who wanted something with muscle car attitude in a tractor frame. The last digit in the model number, the 8 in 1468, denoted the number of cylinders, a not-so-subtle flex from International. The DV550 was unique for its time. At low loads or idle, the engine ran on just 4 cylinders. When more power was needed, fuel flowed to the other 4, giving the tractor full power while maintaining relatively decent fuel efficiency. It remains the largest engine ever factory-fitted into a farmall tractor. But the 1468 had problems. The V8 engine, while impressive on paper, had poor lugging ability compared to the 6-cylinder engines farmers were accustomed to. The narrow torque band meant the tractor had to be kept at higher RPMs to maintain pulling power, which frustrated operators used to the broad, forgiving power curves of traditional inline engine. When the engine lugged down under heavy loads, it didn't recover gracefully like a 6-cylinder would. Fuel economy, despite the 4-cylinder idle feature, wasn't great, and the tractor used the transmission and accessories from the smaller 1466 model instead of the beefier components from the 1566, which the similar 1568 used. That meant the drivetrain was often working at the edge of its limits, a fundamental mismatch between engine output and transmission capacity. Mechanically, the 1468 was prone to issues. The V8 configuration made repairs expensive and complicated. Mechanics disliked working on them because parts were costly, access to components was difficult, and the truck-derived engine required specialized knowledge that many ag mechanics didn't have. It wasn't as reliable as farmers expected from International Harvester, and when things went wrong, repairs were expensive. The tractor was discontinued after just 3 years, and while some enthusiasts loved the V8 sound and power, many farmers saw it as a waste of International's time and money. They believed International should have focused on developing power shift transmissions for larger ag tractors, instead of building hot rod machines with questionable reliability. The 1468 was a bold experiment, a tractor with character and attitude, but it was also a tractor that struggled to deliver the practical, reliable performance farmers needed, and it didn't last long in the lineup. Today, surviving examples are collector pieces, valued more for their uniqueness than their practicality. Number 6. Case IH 4690. In the 1980s, Case IH introduced the 4690, a beast of a tractor designed for serious horsepower. It packed a 6-cylinder diesel engine producing around 300 horsepower, paired with a power shift transmission that was supposed to handle the immense torque and power this machine generated. On paper, it was a dream for large-scale operations. In reality, it was a nightmare. The transmission couldn't handle the stress. Power shift failures became common, leaving farmers stranded with expensive repairs and long downtimes. The tractor was also heavy and, according to some reports, unstable in certain field conditions. Handling a 300 horsepower machine requires precision engineering, and the 4690 didn't always deliver. The weight distribution made it difficult to maneuver in wet or uneven terrain, and operators reported that the tractor felt top-heavy when running implements or working hillsides. Service costs were astronomical when the transmission failed, often requiring complete rebuilds that could take weeks and cost tens of thousands of dollars. Parts availability was another issue. Dealers struggled to keep critical components in stock, leaving broken tractors sitting idle during crucial planting or harvest seasons. Farmers complained about the tractor's reliability, and safety concerns mounted. Some operators reported that the steering response felt sluggish under load, making it difficult to control the machine precisely when pulling heavy equipment. The combination of transmission unreliability and handling concerns made the 4690 a liability for operations that depended on consistent, predictable performance. Case IH eventually withdrew the model from production after repeated complaints about transmission failures and handling issues. The decision came after the company recognized that the engineering compromises made to reach the 300 horsepower mark had created more problems than the extra power was worth. The 4690 represents a moment in tractor history when manufacturers were racing to build bigger, more powerful machines, sometimes without fully accounting for the engineering challenges that came with all that power. It was a tractor built for a specific market, large farms with heavy workloads, but it couldn't deliver the reliability that market demanded. Today, the 4690 is a rare sight, remembered more for its problems than its power. Number 5. Allis-Chalmers D21. Allis-Chalmers introduced the D21 in 1963, positioning it as their answer to the high-horsepower tractor wars of the 60s. With a 6-cylinder diesel engine producing around 103 horsepower, an 8-speed transmission, and a robust build, the D21 was designed to compete with John Deere and International Harvester's top models. But the D21 struggled with reliability. Under heavy loads, the tractor experienced mechanical issues that made it unsafe for the kind of work farmers expected from a machine in this class. Transmissions had trouble, hydraulics weren't always dependable, and the tractor earned a reputation for being problematic in demanding conditions. Allis-Chalmers eventually added a turbocharger to the D21 in 1965, which improved power output, but the underlying reliability issues remained. The tractor was discontinued in 1969 after just 6 years of production. While some D21s worked reliably for their owners, enough had problems that the model never achieved the market success Allis-Chalmers hoped for. It was a tractor caught between ambition and execution, a machine with potential that couldn't quite deliver consistency. For Allis-Chalmers fans, the D21 represents a missed opportunity. For farmers who owned one, it was often a gamble whether they'd get a solid workhorse or a constant headache. Number 4. Case 310. Back in the 1950s, Case introduced the 310, a small utility tractor powered by a 4-cylinder engine, producing around 30 horsepower. It was designed for lighter farm work, small acreage operations, and tasks that didn't require the muscle of a full-size row crop machine. The 310 was marketed as an affordable entry point for small farmers and part-time operators who needed basic functionality without the expense of larger equipment. But the 310 had serious problems. It was underpowered for even moderate loads, leaving farmers frustrated when the tractor couldn't handle work they expected it to do. The 4-speed transmission offered limited flexibility, and the engine would bog down quickly when pulling implements through heavy soil or thick vegetation. The braking system was poor, making it difficult to stop safely, especially on slopes or uneven terrain. The brakes were mechanical rather than hydraulic, and they lacked the stopping power needed to control the tractor when descending hills or working with loaded equipment. And speaking of slopes, the 310 was notoriously unsafe on inclines. Its center of gravity, weight distribution, and braking issues combined to create a tractor that could easily tip or lose control on hillsides. The narrow wheelbase and relatively high mounting position made rollover accidents a genuine concern, particularly when operators attempted to turn on uneven ground. Farmers who tried to use the 310 on anything other than flat, easy terrain quickly learned its limits, often the hard way. Reports of near-miss accidents and actual rollovers began filtering back to Case, creating liability concerns that the company couldn't ignore. The limited power also meant that farmers often tried to compensate by adding weight or running the engine at maximum RPM constantly. which led to premature mechanical failures and overheating. Case eventually withdrew the 310 from the market, recognizing that the tractor's design flaws made it a liability. It wasn't powerful enough, safe enough, or reliable enough to justify keeping it in production. The 310 is a reminder that not every tractor needs to be big to be dangerous. Sometimes the smallest machines pose the biggest risks, especially when they're asked to do more than they were ever designed to handle. Number 3. Kubota BX series, early models. Kubota's BX series, introduced in the early 2000s, became one of the most popular subcompact tractor lines in the world, with diesel engines producing between 18 and 22 horsepower, hydrostatic transmissions, and a compact design perfect for hobby farms and residential properties. The BX series seemed like the perfect small tractor. The hydrostatic transmission eliminated the need for clutching and made operation feel more like driving a lawnmower than a traditional tractor, which appealed to homeowners transitioning from riding mowers to compact equipment. But certain early BX models had serious issues. Some were recalled due to rollover risks, a critical safety concern for any tractor, but especially one used by less experienced operators on residential properties. The compact size and relatively high center of gravity made some early BX models prone to tipping in certain conditions. When equipped with front-end loaders carrying heavy loads, or when operating on side slopes, the stability margins became dangerously narrow. Hydraulic failures were also reported, leaving owners with tractors that couldn't operate implements or struggled with basic three-point hitch functions. Some owners experienced complete hydraulic system failures that left them stranded mid-task, unable to lower implements or disengage attachments safely. The recall process required owners to bring their tractors to authorized Kubota dealers for inspection and modification, a process that took many units out of service during peak lawn care and property maintenance seasons. Kubota addressed these issues through recalls and design improvements, and later BX models have been far more reliable. The company redesigned the hydraulic systems, improved rollover protection structures, and provided better operator training materials, emphasizing safe operation practices. But the early recalls highlighted a problem in the subcompact tractor market. These machines are often sold to first-time tractor owners who may not fully understand the risks of operating heavy equipment on slopes, with implements, or in challenging terrain. Many buyers treated these compact tractors like oversized lawnmowers, not recognizing that the same physics governing full-size agricultural tractors applied to these smaller machines as well. A rollover on a BX series tractor might not involve the same forces as a rollover on a 100-horsepower row crop machine, but it's still dangerous, and it can still be deadly. Kubota's response to the recalls was commendable. They took responsibility, fixed the problems, and improved the design. But the early BX models serve as a reminder that even small tractors demand respect, proper operation, and careful engineering. The subcompact market exploded in the 2000s, and not every manufacturer was prepared for the safety demands that came with it. Number 2. Mahindra 3550P ST. Mahindra, an Indian tractor manufacturer that entered the U.S. market in the 1990s, introduced the 3550P ST in the 2010s. It featured a 3-cylinder diesel engine producing around 50 horsepower, paired with a power shuttle transmission designed for easy forward and reverse operation. The 3550 was marketed as an affordable, capable tractor for small to mid-sized farms, but reports began surfacing of hydraulic leaks and brake failures. In some markets, the 3550 was recalled to address these safety concerns. Hydraulic leaks can lead to loss of steering control, implement failure, and dangerous operating conditions. Brake failures are even more serious, especially on slopes or when hauling heavy loads. While Mahindra worked to address the issues and the recalls were limited to certain markets, the 3550 PST highlighted the challenges that newer manufacturers face when entering competitive markets. Established brands like John Deere, Case 1H, and New Holland have decades of engineering refinement, extensive dealer networks, and customer trust built over generations. Newer entrants have to prove themselves, and any reliability or safety issues are magnified in the eyes of skeptical buyers. The 3550 PST was ultimately a solid tractor for many owners, but the hydraulic and brake problems tarnished its reputation and served as a cautionary tale about the importance of rigorous testing and quality control. Number 1. New Holland T8.390. At the top of our list is the New Holland T8.390, a modern high-horsepower tractor introduced in 2011. This was a machine built for the 21st century, an 8.7-liter diesel engine producing 390 horsepower, paired with New Holland's Auto Command CVT, a continuously variable transmission designed to deliver seamless power and efficiency. The T8.390 represented the cutting edge of tractor technology, but early production models had catastrophic problems. Transmission failures were reported, leaving farmers with 390 horsepower machines that couldn't move. Even more alarming were reports of fire risks, a terrifying prospect in a tractor filled with fuel, hydraulic fluid, and electrical systems. New Holland issued recalls for early production T8.390s, pulling affected tractors from the field until fixes could be applied. The issues were serious enough that some units were reportedly restricted from use until repairs were completed. A modern-day ban of sorts, though not a legal prohibition. New Holland eventually resolved the problems, and later T8.390s have been reliable, high-performing machines. But the early failures were a black eye for a brand known for quality and innovation. In an era when tractors are equipped with GPS guidance, telemetry systems, and computer-controlled everything, a transmission failure or fire risk is unacceptable. The T8.390's early troubles prove that even with all the technology in the world, engineering flaws can still slip through, and when they do, they can be dangerous. These weren't just tractors that didn't sell. They were machines that failed in ways that mattered. Catastrophic breakdowns, dangerous operating conditions, and engineering flaws that put farmers at risk. From the Ford 6000's transmission disasters to the New Holland T8.390's fire risks, these 12 tractors represent the moments when ambition exceeded engineering, when innovation moved faster than safety could follow, and when farmers became the ones who paid the price. Which of these tractors would you have trusted? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you love the untold stories of farming history, the triumphs and the disasters, hit subscribe for more.